Good morning, all of you. Today we are here to have the workshop, online workshop on the bioinformatics, molecular modeling and biostatistics. I thank all the participants for taking part in this workshop. And to start with, I thank our principal, Professor Y. Ashok, and management of Bhavan Vivekananda College for providing me this opportunity to share a little bit of my knowledge to all the participants who are attending this session. Okay, so today's practical session, I am listed out few of the things which I would like to show and also give you some hands-on experience on this. So as we have already heard Dr. Manjari Kiran, who was telling us about the various databases, how the sequences are used, where the sequences are stored, and what we can sequences and what is the amount of output we can get by looking at the sequences. So what are these sequences which I am talking about? And what we are going to do is what is this next 1 hour and 1.5 hour session. Because of time constraint, I may go a little quick, but if any questions are there, I'm most willing to answer. Okay, so I'm outlining few of the practicals which I will be demonstrating, and possibly you will also have a hands-on experience. So these are the practicals which I have listed out. The retrieving the nucleotide sequence from NCBI database, then identifying exon and intron sequences, how to design primers, how to align sequences using BLAST, which you have already seen in Dr. Manjari Kiran's lecture. Then once we are done with that, then what is the nature of the protein, what is the most stable conformation of the protein, predicting the secondary structure of the protein, and then when you have a set of proteins, how we are going to do the alignment of sequences. And I would also like to provide a brief introduction to one of the most important packages, that is the BioPython, and also a little bit of the next generation sequencing, provided the time permits. So before actually starting this session, I'm going to put the e-manual of this practical session into the chat box. I request everyone to go through this chat box whenever you are finding time, and if you are having any issues, you can go to the e-manual and you can check. I'm trying to do it. If otherwise, I will put it into the WhatsApp group after a little while, because I'm not able to do it here. I'm not able to do it on the screen, but anyway, let me continue further. So I would like to first give you what an idea, what is a database. We have already seen in Dr. Manjari's lecture, so I'm just quickly going there. So database, we have different types of databases. As you can see here in this slide, the nucleotide databases and the protein databases, and again the list of databases which are there. So primary,
Padma ma'am,
second, yes?
screen sharing చేస్తున్నారా? Are you doing the screen sharing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your video only is...
It is visible.
Okay ma'am, okay ma'am, okay fine.
Yeah, please carry on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so first we are going to, I'm just giving you the idea regarding the databases. So what are the various databases which are there? So we will try to retrieve 1 or 2 sequences by using this database here. I will be just focusing on retrieving the sequence from the NCBI database. So first let us go into the NCBI database. So here, as we all know, I think most of you are aware of it. So are you all able to see my screen?
No, Padma, only PPT we are seeing,
Okay.
not your computer.
Now are you able to see this window?
Yes, yes.
So now I will just show you how to go into this site and how to look at the sequences. Subsequently, I will be showing a screenshot of what the windows look like so that you can further continue on your screens or at your leisure. So first we will go into the NCBI site. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, Padma.
Okay, thank you. So I'm clicking on the NCBI here. So this is the NCBI screen. I hope all of you are able to see this screen, NCBI screen.
Yes, you continue. If any pause is there, I'll let you know.
Okay,
Otherwise, you just continue.
okay. So here, this is the window which appears. Then here you have the small window which shows all databases. And here in all databases, when you see the list of databases which are there here, there are a large number of SQL databases available on this NCBI site where you can do any amount of some sequence retrieval or your project of interest. So you have for books, you have domains, you have for genome, you can retrieve genes, and you can also go scroll down. You can see that there are links for the nucleotide and also the OMIM, which Dr. Manjari Madam was talking about, that is the online Mendelian inheritance. Then we have the PubMed Central, which will tell us about the literatures which have been coming out in various research works. And like that, there is also different other various links which are available in the databases. So now first I will demonstrate the retrieving the nucleotide sequence. So here we need to click on databases and check for the nucleotide. You can see that the nucleotide is here. You click on the nucleotide, it just changes to the nucleotide, and here you can type any gene of your interest which you want to study for the nucleotide. So here nucleotide means it may be DNA or RNA. If you want protein, then you click on this link on this scroll bar once again, and you will see there is an option to check for protein. If you choose protein, you will get the proteins. So first let us see about the nucleotides. So the nucleotides, here I'm just looking for a simple example I'm giving here, actin. So then you click on this search button. So you will get, now you will see a list of entries which have been deposited in the NCBI for the actin. And in this also you can see that it is a mixture of the DNA, and there are also some mRNA sequences, and it is a mixture of the nucleotide, because we have just said nucleotide, it is giving the DNA and RNA. And also the number is a very large number, nearly 8 lakh entries are there, and this is displaying only 1 out of those 1 to 20 of those 8 lakh entries. So you can also minimize the number of entries or reduce the number of entries by looking at this left side of this window. There is a choice of organisms which you want to select. You can take animals or plants or fungi or protists or anything. And also you have the molecule types. You can click for genomic DNA, RNA or mRNA. So if you click on this customize button, you can see that all of them are selected here. You can just select, for example, in our case, I'm deselecting all these windows here and just leaving a particular example here. And then you can also check on the types of, you can click on show. Then again, there will be selection of the genomes, and then you can also select on the molecule types here. When you look on this, in this, the genomic DNA, RNA, mRNA, and all are selected. So I am just selecting the genomic DNA and deselecting these other nucleotides, and then we are clicking on the show, and then we are searching for the, so you can see in this customize, we have clicked on fungus, and here on the source data, here also we have taken the sequence types, and you can click on the search, and then we will get another set of sequences which are going to be based on the selections which you are making. So if you click on the genomic DNA and also the fungi, you will get the reduced number of entries. So you can see the number of entries has reduced here, 77553. Okay, now from this you can take, if your fungus, you are interested in taking the fungus, you can choose any of these species which are listed out here. And also here, you on this side, you can see that there are certain organisms which are demonstrated by the taxa. So now you can also do, or you can look at this from your system if you are able to do it. So here, this is the organism which for time being I am selecting here for my purpose of demonstration. And these are small bases here, you can see that. And here you have some information pertaining to this particular organism. This is P. graminis, that is Puccinia graminis. This is actin and the DNA. So it is having 2627 base pairs. So this is the information about the particular organism which you are doing. So here you also have other links to get the protein sequence, taxonomical significance, the GenBank ID, the FASTA, what Madam was talking about earlier, and also the graphical visualization of the sequence. Now, if you click on this particular window, it goes into this section. Here you have all the information which is related to this particular organism. That is, what is the chromosomal locus of this actin on the organism's genome. And then you have the accession number. If you remember the accession number, you can use this accession number in all your further queries. And you also have the authors who have deposited the sequence of this organism in the database, and also the literature which is related to this, from where they have deposited this organism sequence. And here, if you come scroll further down, you have the different coding sequences and the exonic regions, the intronic regions, all are listed out in this. And this is the entire sequence of the actin DNA of this particular organism. So we can use this particular thing for your purpose. So in this sequence, now when we want to use it for any further analysis, we cannot use this entire sequence, because here it is given the number of the bases, that is the numbering is given here, that is 1 starting from 1 to 60, then it is starting from 61 and so on. So this, if you are taking the entire sequence, it is having both numbers and alphabets. So it is not possible to use this sequence for analysis. So if you want to retrieve the sequence, then what is it that you should do? So you can go to this particular FASTA, what Madam was talking about. You click on FASTA. Click on this window, and you can click on this link, and you see now that this particular sequence which is here is different from what you have seen in the previous window. How it is different? It is the numbers are missing here, and this is in a continuous script. So you are getting all this. Earlier it was starting from 1 here and it was ending again, the next number was starting. Instead of that, whenever we want to use a particular sequence or save the nucleotide sequence, we always take the FASTA format. This format is called as FASTA format. Now Please pay attention here. If you are talking of the FASTA format, there are two aspects of this sequence. There are two aspects. This FASTA format is specified by this first line, which here see here. This is the first line, which is giving the accession number, the name of the organism, the gene sequence, and what is the type of nucleotide which is there. So you can, whenever you want to do an alignment or you want to blast this particular sequence, all the programs which you are going to do by using this sequence will ask you to paste the sequence in FASTA format. When it is asking you to paste it in FASTA format, you need to select the entire sequence starting from this uh, ID to the last. If you are not selecting this particular, if you are not taking up the first line and you are just selecting only these nucleotides, okay, all those analysis which require FASTA will not recognize the sequence. So be sure and be correct when, if you are doing any analysis, be sure that you have to take the sequence in the FASTA window from starting from this symbol which you are seeing here, greater than symbol is very important, and this has to be collected from the greater than symbol till the last nucleotide of the sequence. Then the sequence will be analyzed. If you are going to take only half of the sequence, only half of the sequence will be taken because already you have selected this. Whatever analysis you will be doing will be done only for this part of sequence, not the rest of the sequence. So if you are facing that issue, you can just paste this particular accession number also in the window so that you don't miss out any nucleotides. So when we go into those programs, I will just tell you where it is important. So here, main thing which I would like to tell in this exercise is, first thing is retrieving the nucleotide sequence from the NCBI data set. This is the way you retrieve the sequence from the NCBI data set. Now, you can, I'm putting this sequence number in your chat box. Did you all get the sequence? Anyone? Has the sequence come in your window?
Not yet, Padma ma'am. Have you
Okay.
placed?
It is not, it is written as privately, I
No,
cannot
no, you
share.
can, I'll come. I'll
Change
come.
it. Okay. Otherwise, pass on to somebody. Manita, she will share. There is an option. Instead of privately, you can put as
Everyone publicly?
yes. Please
Okay.
do that.
I click on that.
Now you post.
See, this is the sequence which I have posted on your window. Now you can take this nucleotide, take this accession number and uh, paste it, copy this accession number from the window here, from your chat box window, and paste it in the NCBI window which I have shown. That is, you can paste it in this particular window. If you paste the sequence also, you will get the entire sequence. I'll just give you 1 minute to all of you to complete this exercise.
We request the participants to open your Chrome, and you can open a tab, new tab, and you can paste this accession number.
Is my PPT window visible?
PPT window not visible. But many of them are giving us, they have got it.
Okay.
They're completed also, visible, ma'am.
Okay. So
That's good
shall I move
response.
on to the next one?
See, you please move on because of time lacking. They have done it. Many of them are saying completed.
Okay. Now are you able to see this window?
Yes, your browser window we are able to see.
Browser window. Okay. Now, again, so that is your first part of the exercise where I have shown you the retrieving of the nucleotide sequences. So now I would like to go on to the, now you know how to retrieve the sequence. Now we will go on to the next part of this. I would like to share my screen for some time with the PPT. So just 1 minute, please look at look at the PPT here. Okay, are you able to see this window? So, are you seeing my PPT, all of you?
Yes,
Continue,
Padma.
ma'am.
Yeah, so here we have done the retrieving the nucleotide sequence from the NCBI database. So that is the first part of this practical session. I hope all of you are comfortable doing that.
Yes,
Yeah.
please move
So
on.
next we will go on into the next practical session, that is from the sequence database or from the nucleotide sequence, how we can identify the exon sequences. So there are several programs which are available on the net or on the, there are several programs which are available from the net. You can scroll down, you will get for exons. But one simple program I would like to show here, that we are calling it as the GenScan. Okay. So this GenScan program, it is used for predicting the locations and the exon intron structures of the genes from a variety of organisms. But here there is a limitation that it will accept up to 1 million base pairs in length. Right? So let us go into the GenScan program. So now I'm going back into the NCBI window. Okay, so here let us go back to our main Google site. In this, I'm going to just type it as GenScan. Okay, so when you click on the GenScan, you have this particular window coming up. Is this clear? New GenScan web server at MIT.
Yes, continue.
Okay, so now we can click on that. Okay, so you will see this particular window which is here. Okay, now this is the GenScan window which for our practical purpose for today's workshop, I'm just showing you this. And here you can see that there is a choice of these organisms, whether it is a vertebrate or a Arabidopsis or the maize. So for that, we will just take a sequence. So I'm just taking one nucleotide sequence of the maize here. So here it says you can predict the sequence, upload the sequence file, or you can put your data, or you can paste the DNA sequence. So we will go back into the NCBI side, and here we will choose the, are you seeing this window? NCBI window?
Yes, yes, Padma, continue.
Yeah. So in the NCBI window, just a minute, please hold on. Okay, we have seen earlier retrieved the sequence. Similar way here again, we can retrieve the sequence by going to the, because we are looking for the DNA, we need to take it as the nucleotide, and directly here I am pasting a particular sequence here. Okay, so you can also take this particular sequence here. So J012381, and then we click on that. So this, we are going to take the maze sequence. So as I've told you earlier, we can also go for the FASTA sequence now here. Now as FASTA I have told you, we need to take the entire sequence from here to the end. Then copy the sequence. Then go to the GenScan window. Is the GenScan window visible?
Yes, continue.
Okay, so here I'm going to paste the sequence. Now we got the sequence into the GenScan window, right? So here organism, we have to choose it as maize because we have taken the maize genome sequence. And here if you see, there is one more option which is given, that is the suboptimal exon cutoff. So this choice, there is a lot number of selections which are given here. So what is the reason that these many selections are there? This is to indicate what is the probability of finding the exon in the particular gene sequence. Okay, so by default, for all practical purposes, we are using only the value of 1. We need not, I will also show you the difference, what will happen when you change these sequences. So for practical purposes and for our understanding, let us now continue with this suboptimal exon cutoff, which is 1. And then you click on the Run GenScan. Okay, now this is the output which you are getting from this GenScan window. Now look at this output window of the GenScan. Here it is giving us the number of the base pairs which are given in this sequence, and what is the percentage of the C plus G, and what is the organism which you have taken, and also it is telling us a particular numbers which you can see here. Okay, so in these numbers you are seeing that there is one thing which is called as the INTR plus and INTR here. So this INTR is the terminology which is given by the GenScan for an internal exon. Wherever there is an internal exon, this number is giving you the exons. That is, it is starting from 391 exon is there, but from 391 to 781 position, and another internal exon is there from 889 to 1323 position. Okay, so this is the length of this particular internal exon which is there, and these are the parameters which is has given. Now, as I told you, let us go back again to our previous window. I told you now we have taken for practical purposes 1 as the suboptimal cutoff. Now what would happen if you change it to 0.1? Okay, so this is all the probability of finding the exons. Now when you change this again, you put it as Run GenScan. Okay, now compared to the previous report, you see that this report is different. Okay, previously here we have not seen any sequences, only here we have seen internal exons and these two numbers. Now when you have reduced the probability to 0.01, it is also showing some more probable exons that could be there in the particular genome. Okay, so here what we are seeing here we have seen it as INTR, here we are seeing is INIT. This is the first exon, initiation exon, where from the entire sequence, the first exon is going to start from this base pair. So this is a very short length. So that is why it is not shown in the previous thing when we have taken the 1% probability. These are slightly long sequences. So, and these are the internal exons again. INIT, in INTR shows the internal exons. And then here you see the term TER, that is the terminal exon, which is there in the last segment, which is also seen here. We are talking of the 889 to 1323. Okay, so for any sequence which you are going to do, you will be, your profile or output will vary depending on what parameters you are going to select. Okay, so this is the output of the GenScan. Now, I would like to give you a minute for you all to do this exercise of running on the GenScan. I'll just give you all a minute, and I'm putting my PPT on here so that you will see what is the output which you are going to get. This is the output window you are supposed to get when you do it on your system, okay, where I have pasted the sequence and also the output. Okay, so that is how the identifying the exons or other, you can also put the same nucleotide what we have seen earlier, that is the Puccinia graminis also you can show. Okay, if you put the sequence of Puccinia graminis, the nucleotide sequence, but here you cannot choose the organism which is not there here. It is because Puccinia doesn't come into any of these categories, but still it will give you some output. Okay, so this is the way the GenScan has to be demonstrated, or GenScan can be used to predict the exons. So this is a simple program. I'm not going into more other programs. If you click on the net to pick up exons, you will get in Ensemble, you will get in various other links how to pick up the exons for the genome sequences, human genomes. I have taken only very small sequences here because it is easy for me to demonstrate. So if you are taking the genome of larger organisms like humans or mammals, you may need to use some other programs. This is only for our understanding how the exons will be predicted from the entire sequence. So what is the requirement here? First, you identify organism. You see the length of the base pairs. If it is a small organism, you can use this particular program because there is a limitation of only 1 million base pairs for this, as I have indicated in my PPT. So anything less than that, you can use it here with 1% suboptimal exon cutoff. Am I clear to all, or I need to go slow?
I feel it's okay because
Okay.
other factories time also.
So I'll just give you all 1 minute time. I hope you are all following what I'm showing here. Okay. So I'll just give you 1 minute time, then we will move on. Okay. Shall I continue? Yes.
Continue, Padma.
Yeah. So next we are going to talk about the designing of the primers. Designing primers is another important aspect which is required. Okay, so when do we use primers? When we have a particular sequence and we want to amplify that particular sequence, then we need to design the primers. So this primer blast is a tool and it will help you to pick up the primer sequences, and we can also use any primer program. There are many primer programs which are available on the net. So the primer blast is the program which we are going to use now for designing of the primers. So in this primer blast, we need to again paste our sequence and we need to pick up the primers. So the difference between the Primer 3 program, which is the most widely known program for identifying the primers, and the primer blast is the primer blast is going to look for the same sequence across the database of the organism of interest, and it is going to blast the sequence against all the known reference sequence genomes and pick up the most appropriate set of primers that can be used for the study. And the output also, it will indicate which exonic region it is going to be generating the primers, or which region the primers are designed for. Okay. So it also has the capability to place the primers based on the exon-intron boundaries. Okay. So now let us go back to the NCBI side. Okay. So again, I'm coming back to this window. Is this window visible to all of you? Is the NCBI screen visible to all of you?
GenScan screen is
Yeah,
there, ma'am.
GenScan screen is
NCBI.
visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Continue.
Okay, then we'll go back to our window here, and we will click on this primer blast. Okay. You can also come to this if you go from your NCBI site also. In the NCBI site, if you are going to the NCBI site here, and as if you are going to take the sequence of our interest, what is the sequence which we are going to take? Again, we are going back to our original actin DNA sequence. I'm going to paste it in the window. Are you able to see this? Is everyone able to see it?
Yes, Padma.
Oh, okay. So then I'm clicking on the search. You will get okay. So you are getting this particular window, and then again we are going back. Why I'm showing you this is you can do it on your window also. You need not go to the specific program. So here on the right side, you can see that there is a link which is going to tell you to pick the primers. So this is going to use the primer blast program to pick the primers of this sequence. So if you click on this pick primers, it will go into the primer blast program. You can see that primer blast program, it has taken the nucleotide sequence. As I have told you in the beginning, you can see that it is asking for the FASTA sequence. Okay, the FASTA sequence is the sequence which I have shown how you are going to retrieve the sequence in the FASTA format. So that sequence you can paste, or you can give the accession number. So here it is automatically taken the accession number because you are linking through the NCBI site. Okay, now or you can save it in some folder, and you can also upload the file in this window, right? Then you move down here, and there are certain selections which you need to make. So here by default, we are if you select any of this choices here, the primers will not be designed properly. So we are just taking the no preference here. And here also you can see the reference organism. Here you need the reference sequence against which the primers are going to be designed. So here we will, what is the organism which we have taken? That is the Puccinia. So once you click on this Puccinia, you will get this different IDs. If you just take this, it is the same molecule which you have, same organism. So you just see broadly against the organisms which are classified under the Puccinials, and then you can get the primers. So it is taking little time. Meanwhile, I will show you the way it looks on the screen. Okay. So this is how the window looks. This is the final window which you are going to see on your screens when you do this particular analysis. So here we have given the name of the organism, that is the PCR template, and here it is designing all the primers. We have seen initially also that the when you do the GenScan also, you will get where the primers, where the exons are starting. And since here we have not given any preference for any exon intron junctions, it is only giving the most probable locations where you can use the primers. So here you can see these are the primers, primer pair 1, primer pair 2. So what are these primer pairs? So you have the forward primer. If you want, you take primer 1 for instance here, the primer 1 is spanning this entire segment from here to the end, same way primer 4 or primer 5. So if you choose the primer 1, you will get both the forward sequence and the reverse sequence, which will amplify only in this region starting from somewhere around 1980 or whatever the number it may be here. So from that particular sequence, it is going to amplify the nucleotide sequence. So that is how the primer reports are used for, so that we take this primer sequence, you have forward primer, reverse primer, and it is also giving you what is this number here. 632 is the product length. That is, after you use these primers and you amplify your sequences, you are going to get the PCR product. And this is the product length. That is, what is the number of base pairs which are there, that is the product length. So this will be useful for you when you want to visualize your PCR product by running an agarose gel electrophoresis. What is the size of the molecule, and what is for this number of length, what is the number of, what is the approximate size of the base pairs, that you can use, and you can choose your primers for running or amplifying your sequences. So that is the regarding the designing of the primers. So I'll just give you 1 minute's time for you to go through your sequences. Is this clear to all? Is it clear? Hello?
They're responding in the chat box, ma'am.
They are saying yes.
They are able to, I'll just see through the chat box. Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to the next part of this
But I
analysis.
would like to make a small request to you, Padma. We'll break for 5 minutes.
Okay.
And we will get back after 5 minutes.
Okay.
Meanwhile, if any questions are found in the chat box, and if they are willing to get to be answered, then you may.
Okay, I will post the quiz questions for them now, so that they can, whoever is interested, they can answer the quiz questions.
Yeah, maybe in 5 minutes we'll rejoin.
Okay.
All of you, please take 5 minutes break and then again come back for the next half of this session.
All of you, please click on this form, and if possible, try to submit the form. There are 3 questions which are given here and which are related to what you have gone through so far. So just, it will not take more than 1 minute of your time to answer those questions. I'll be happy if you could answer those questions.
See, Vanita, somebody raised their hands. Maybe you can look at, and then what they want to ask, let them ask.
I've seen a question, how will we come to know which primer will be suitable? So if you know which is the sequence you want to amplify amongst the entire gene, you know what are all the genes which are there. There may be genes for disease resistant genes, or there may be some other genes which are there in the organism, you are going to identify what is the gene. And then you know which the gene lies in which region of your organism's genome. And now from the primer blast, it has given you an output which is telling you where that primer is going to bind. So you can match your primer with the nucleotide sequence and then pick up that particular region, pick up those primers to amplify only that particular region. Here we are not, the DNA sequence is what is recorded in the NCBI site is the nucleotide sequence. How you are going to get the complement, what is the full length to Somilia Mishra's question? My answer is that in this NCBI site, you will have only the forward strand of the sequence. So later there will be programs where you can use the forward strand to go into the complement strand, and also you can make a reverse complement of the strand, so you will get a double stranded DNA. So we are taking the DNA sequences directly from the database and we are picking up the primers. We need to get the primers synthesized so that these are going to bind to the particular sequence in the forward direction. You don't require when it is going to do the PCR amplification, you are going to add in the PCR template the nucleotides. You are going to add the required Taq polymerase, which are going to take the nucleotides and make the complementary strand and make it into a double strand. So we are only giving the sequences for the forward strand, and because the polymerase will make the reverse strand, you also need to have the reverse primer. So you have both the forward primer and the reverse primer. Does that answer the question? Okay, primer report. I'm just going to share my PPT now. Are you able to see my PPT?
Padma, give 5 minutes break.
No, because they asked in the chat box, I am just giving the answer.
Okay, yeah. Then you can carry on.
Is my PPT visible? You need to paste the sequence in the NCBI site, and on the right side of the NCBI window, you have pick primers, and then you click on the primers, it goes to the primer blast program, and in the primer blast program, if you ask the program to compute the primers, it will give you the output, which is going to be seen like this in the window. Manual, I'm not able to post it in the chat box. So maybe I will later provide you the manual. Here I'm not able to do it in the chat box. Yes, any questions? If you are not getting the result, Sri Lalita, it will take some time. Some internet connectivity and other things also may be the constraint. So you can read through it when you are at a better connectivity place. If you add an Ajar Pradhan, if you have added any exon intron junction, they based on your reference sequence, it may not be able to give you all the primers. You can just put it into your list and you can do the selection sensi because I'm constraint of time. I'm not showing you all those things. What is the significance of an exon intron junction in designing a primer? Exon intron junction, if you are taking, you will be amplifying the intron also, which is of no meaning to us. Only the exons are the ones which are going to be coding for the mRNA and then translated into the protein. If you are choosing intron gene, it is only giving only an increase in the length of the PCR product, but you will not be able to get any significant data out of it. It is only when it gets translated, you may not be able to get anything about that sequence. It will be only a part of the nucleotide sequence. What is the difference between, what is that question? I didn't understand, Prasanna. Okay, are you all back?
They're asking for the internal sequences or initiator sequences of an exon. That's what they're asking. Some of them.
That is in the GenScan. Is it related to GenScan?
Yes.
Yeah, so ITRN is the internal exon, and first one, the first exon, that is INIT. This is not ITIN, it is INIT, that is the initial exon, first exon. And from one exon till the end of the sequence, what is the internal exon? So ITIN, this is an INIT, initial exon, and ITRN is the internal exon. Have I given you the answer, Prasan Parmar? Yeah, if you, for this question from Mohammed Tahir Safraz, if lincomycin resistance or any drug resistance is there, you need to know where is the protein which is being targeted by the drug and what changes are happening in that organism so that it is developing the resistance. So based on that, maybe of that organism which is resistant to that particular drug, you can retrieve the DNA, do the look at the sequence, and then you maybe can design the primers for that region which is causing the resistance to the gene. Is that giving you the answer? So shall we start?
Padma, you can. Yeah, you can start.
Okay. So the next, so from, are you all able to see my screen?
Your PPT is.
Yeah, PPT.
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to go back here. So we have done the designing of the primers using the primer blast. We have done the retrieving of nucleotide sequences. We have designed the exons and introns, and we have also designed the primers using the primer blast program. So the next thing which we have to do is the alignment of sequences using the blast program. Okay, so now let's again go back to the NCBI site. Okay, so again we are going back to this NCBI site here. Go into the Google one, and then here we are going to do the blast. So first I would like to show you the initial blast, then I would like to tell you what exactly I would like to show you in this session. So again, if you are going to take this sequence here, Okay. I will again go back into the same window. You may wonder why we need to separately go into the BLAST program when it is showing your run BLAST. So I will just show you what will happen if you do this BLAST. So I'm clicking on the run BLAST here. Okay. So when you are doing this run BLAST, this is taking this particular sequence here, which we have selected or which we have given. I hope you all remember what we are doing. This sequence belongs to the Puccinia graminis actin DNA. Now, when you are taking a single sequence here, you can do the, if you just click on the BLAST, it is going to compare the sequence of this with all other 2 lakhs or 8 lakhs, what we have seen earlier in the beginning, whatever the actin DNA sequences are there, it is going to do with that. And then for every organism which is there, it is going to give the result. Okay. Is this window clear to all of you? Is this window visible? Is the window visible? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Padma, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah.
Continue.
Okay. So when I have taken the single nucleotide and done a blast, it is giving the output like this, where you have so many, it has taken its on its own, and it is also giving for all the other sequences which are available in the database. And here on this screen, you can see that there are certain parameters which it is giving, that maximum score, total score, cover, e-value, percentage identity, and the accession number. So you can see the maximum, this is doing blast on itself, so it is having 100% identity. For this particular sequence, because it is an mRNA sequence, it has blasted against actin DNA. You can see that the score has come down to 55%. So this is the way the output you can read, and this is the accession number for this particular sequence. If you want to pick up any particular sequence from this and you want to get the accession number of that particular organism, you can use this as the accession number. So now let us do one more exercise here, where we are going to take 2 specific sequences. Okay, so I want to show the difference in this alignment of the sequences. So we are going back to our NCBI site, onto the Google site, and here I'm going to put it as Needleman-Wunsch algorithm. Needleman-Wunsch algorithm. So this is also a blast alignment of sequences, where we are going to compare 2 specific sequences. So here you can do it either in the European Molecular Biology Laboratory site, that is www.ebi.ac.uk, or you also have it at the NCBI site. Okay, it is not compulsion that you come to take any only NCBI site. You can use even this site. Okay, so now we are, first let us do on this, and the other alignment I will do on the EBI side. So the Needleman-Wunsch algorithm alignment of 2 nucleotide sequences. Now, when we are doing a blast, you must have heard to Dr. Manjari Kiran's lecture, where there is some difference in the alignment of sequences based upon the nucleotides which are there. So there are certain local alignments and global alignments which are possible when you are comparing the sequences. Now, what is the difference between a global alignment and a local alignment? So global alignment of sequences is alignment of 2 sequences in entirety. That means 1-to-1 basis. But when we are talking of local alignment of sequences, if any subsequences are present between the sequences, there may not be 80% homology or 90% homology between our sequences, but if there are certain conserved subsequences within the 2 sequences, you are identifying those local subsequences by using a local alignment. Okay, now To do that, first I'm going to do a global alignment. The global alignment is called as the Needleman-Wunsch global alignment of the nucleotide sequences. This is global alignment. Global means from nucleotide 1 to the last nucleotide, wherever similarities are there, alignment is there, it is going to give the output. So here, as you can see here again, I told you here, we need to always give the FASTA sequence, or you need to give the accession number. So here I'm going to paste the sequences. So 2 sequences I'm going to paste. I'm putting the accession number here, okay? And here again, because one is a query sequence and another one is a subject sequence. So it is going to compare these 2 sequences. So you can do for nucleotide, or you can take the protein sequences of these also, and you can do the alignment. So I'm going to paste it here, okay? And then we are going to, because it is an algorithm is nothing but based on some mathematical calculations and match score, mismatch score. Match score is when there is same nucleotide, A matches A, it is a match. When A doesn't match with A, it is a mismatch. Okay, so these numbers which you are seeing here, scoring parameters, the scoring parameters means for match, that means if A matches with A, we give marks or 2 marks to that nucleotide, and if A doesn't match with A, it matches with C or T, we are going to reduce -3. So for every nucleotide, the scoring is given, and the sum of all those numbers is given as the scoring of the sequence. So here, these are default values. I'm not changing anything now, just to demonstrate purpose. It is going to align the sequences, and it is going to give you the output. Okay, so this is the way you have, this is the first window which you will see when you do this exercise. So here it is telling you what is the program you are using, what is the query sequence. This is a sequence belonging to this actin gene from Haliotis tuberculata, which is a molluscan, and also the Gallus gallus, which is the chicken actin. So this is a molluscan and this is a vertebrate. So here, this is a bird. So here you have the mRNA of both. We are going to blast. So what is the purpose? To see whether this actin is having any sequence similarity with this molluscan actin. So this is the output. You can see that there is 68% identity between the molluscan actin and the chicken actin. Okay, score is 744. I told you what this score exactly means by taking the match score and the mismatch score. Okay, so now in this window, you have 4 links here: descriptions, graphic summary, alignments, and dot plot. Madam was telling us about dot plot in the morning, how it will be aligned. So this is the graphic summary. This is the sequence alignment. When you go to alignments, this is how the alignments are going to be shown on the screen, right? So here you can see the score as 744. What is the basis of this 744? There is 68% sequence identity, and you can see that there are some gaps which are there in this. Why these gaps? Because there is a difference in the nucleotide length. This is only 1500 and this is around 1700. So obviously there is a gap of around 100 or odd nucleotides. So there are some 248 gaps which are there between these 2 sequences. That's accounting to around 14%, and there is sequence similarity of 68%. So here you are seeing some lines here. So when a nucleotide is matching with a particular nucleotide, G to G, G to G, and here you see C to A, it is not matching. So this is a mismatch score. So this is the match score. So here if you take 2 and 2, it is 4. Here it will be -3. So 4 minus 3 is 1. So that's how the scoring is going for the entire. You need to continuously do it for this. For gap extension also, there will be a penalty. For each gap, there may be some penalty that is given as -2 or based upon the particular algorithm. Okay, so this is the global alignment of the sequence. Now, let us do the same thing for the other type of sequencing arrangement that is called as the Smith-Waterman algorithm. Okay, so this is another algorithm which is going to help us in doing the local alignment. So Needleman-Wunsch is not going to do local alignment, it will do only global alignment. If you want to do local alignment, you need to choose the Smith-Waterman algorithm. And here again, I told you, I will take you to the Smith-Water algorithm tool. So here you can go into the Smith-Waterman algorithm. Let me just click on this. I will see if this gives you the, not this window. If I'm not able to get through this, then I will just show you what will happen there. So this is a Smith-Waterman algorithm sequence. So here, today this window is not active anyway. So because of time constraint, I'm just going to show you how this output is going to be seen. So this is the alignment sequence, as I've shown you for the Needleman-Wunsch. This is the Smith-Waterman algorithm, where I have given you the sequence, where both the sequences I have not given the accession number, but I have pasted the FASTA format. You can see that this symbol is there and the entire details. This is the FASTA format because you can paste the FASTA format, and then this is the output you are going to get for the global and local alignment. We already have seen the global alignment of sequences, and this is the local alignment. I told you in global alignment, we start from the first nucleotide, whereas in local alignment, you can see that there is a shift of 3 bases here. It is starting here, you can see AC is here. So it is starting from AC. It is not taking into account the GG here because there is a mismatch here. So, and it is trying to see where best it can fit the sequences. So you can see that there is a shift of these bases here. When the shift is taking place, there is more precise alignment, and these are all the subsequences which are common. For example, if you see here, this sequence is common, which you are not finding it when you do the global alignment. So when you want to find the subsequence, you have to take the local alignment of the nucleotides. Am I clear to everyone? Can I proceed further? Can I proceed further? Hello?
Yeah, Padma, you can.
Okay. So that is about the global and local alignment of sequences. Okay, now let us go to the next part of the practical here. I'm not giving anyone of you time here because these will take little longer duration, alignment and all. So I am running short of time. I have only another half an hour left. So I'm just rushing through the entire thing. So here, you can all try these sequences. You can all do this when you have, when you go back after the program is completed. So now we are going to, so in this I have shown you blast alignment of sequences. Now we are going to see the primary structure, secondary structure, clustral alignment, and I will try to finish off this at the earliest and try to show you some exercise related to these two aspects, which is important. Okay, so now let us go to the primary structure of the protein. So predicting the primary protein structure analysis. Protein structure analysis and prediction, then we will come back into the multiple sequence alignment there. Okay, so the protein structure analysis prediction is for us to, morning we were discussing about the alignment of sequences, identification of the proteins. So now we are going to see how to see what is the, if you have an unknown you have identified or purified a protein and you have got the protein sequenced, then you have the amino acid sequence with you and you do not know what is the nature of that particular protein. I'll answer the questions later. Let me first finish off this, or tomorrow also I will be available. Tomorrow also any break time I can answer your questions. But let me first finish off today's program. So the protein structure analysis is when you have a new protein, you have purified or isolated and you got it sequenced and you don't know what to do with the sequence to know what is the nature of the protein, what could be the content of amino acids, whether it is an acidic or a basic protein or any such information you want to know, you can do the protein structure analysis and prediction. So for this, again, as Madam has told us in the morning, I'm going to take you back to the main window. Are you all able to see my window?
No, not yet. They're not able to.
Just a minute, I'm sharing this window. Okay. Now you are able to see. So now?
Yes.
Yes. So now we are going to go into the protein sequence as Madam told in the morning, Manjari Madam, the xpressi.org. This is the main window which is going to help us in looking at our proteins. So this is the window of the xpressi.org. So here you have categories, proteomics, genomics, and various analysis which you can do. As Madam told, it is a very important portal where you can do any analysis of your biomolecules, not just proteins. So here, if you click on proteomics, you can do all these activities, like you can do various and aspects related to the proteins, and genomics, if you click, you can do different aspects of proteins. So now let me first go to proteomics. In proteomics, again, when I click on proteomics, you have all these different windows popping up here, different links which are popping up. There are databases, as Madam told, where you can get the sequences, and there are also certain tools which will help you to analyze your protein sequences. So these tools include, several of them are shown here, and out of this, for now, I'm going to tell you how to see what is the sequence. If you have an amino acid sequence, how you are going to look at the sequence of the protein. So for this, we need to look into one particular structure which is called as the protein parameters. It is much down here. Protein physical and chemical parameters. If you click on that, you get this window. Here you don't require any FASTA format or anything. If you have the sequence of amino acids, that is a single letter code of amino acids, you can paste the single letter code here. It doesn't require any FASTA format. So we will just try to work with some protein here. I'm putting this sequence of the protein into this window here. You can paste the new sequence identifier. Otherwise, we can also take the sequence. I will show it with the sequence. It is easier if you are working with the sequence. I'm again taking one single amino acid code of the protein, and I'm pasting it in this window. And then you can say compute parameters. When you say compute parameters, it is how it is going to come. So this is the protein parameters. It is called prot param. So protein parameters, these are all the amino acids which are there and their positions. And down here, you can see the table, computation table. What are the number of amino acids in your sequence? What is the molecular weight of your protein? What is the predicted isoelectric point of your protein? And here you see the amino acid composition here. What is the percentage of the different amino acids? It also tells you what is the percentage of acidic residues and basic residues. You can see whether it is an acidic protein or a basic protein by looking at the percentage of the negatively and positively charged residues. And this is the molecular formula of your protein, like we have for glucose C6H12O6. It is also telling you how many carbons, hydrogens, nitrogens, oxygens, and sulfurs are there, how many atoms are there, what is the molar extinction coefficient of your protein, so that you can know its concentration, and it is the molar extinction coefficient here. And it is also telling you what is the estimated half-life of the protein, approximately 30 hours for mammalian cells, and so on. And the instability index, how whether the protein is stable or not. So this number is given as 35.29, and anything which is above up to 35 is considered to be stable. So this protein is considered as a stable protein, and it is an aliphatic protein with 81.95% and hydropathicity. So if you have amino acid sequence, you can just take the sequence of your protein amino acids and paste the sequence here. It need not be necessarily from the database. Even if your own amino acid sequence which you have, you can paste it here and you can compute the parameters. Okay, so that will tell you about the properties, physical and chemical properties of that protein, whether it is an acidic protein, basic protein, or what are the number of, what is its molecular weight, and so on. The second thing which we need to do here is predicting the secondary structure of the protein. So for secondary structure of the protein also, you have links here which are shown. You need to read through these links. So I am just showing you one particular structure prediction that is called as the GOR, protein structure prediction. Again, you can click on this. So if you click on the GOR, it will ask you to, it will give you this window again. The same thing as we have seen in the previous case. Again, you can paste the sequence here and you can do the submission. So you are going to see the secondary structure for this protein in this window. Okay, so the secondary structure of the protein is having all these features. It is having an alpha helix. It will tell you what is the percentage of alpha helix, 310 helix, pi helix, and so on. And these are the windows which it is going to give us. So you can understand whether it is predominantly an alpha helical protein, or if beta sheets are there, it will indicate in the beta trans beta region. So in this protein, you can see that there are no beta sheets or any other secondary conformation. It is only the alpha helical conformation, which is accounting to around 30.93% of the total. And there is a random coil here, which is accounting to around 46.9% of the entire protein sequence. So that is how you can do the primary structure and the secondary structure of the protein. Now, when you know the primary structure and secondary structure of the protein, we can also determine whether that protein which you have identified is having any structural similarity with the already available databases. So we go to the multiple sequence alignment. That is called, we are using the Clustal program here. Clustal alignment here. So the Clustal omega we are going to take here. And in this Clustal omega, we are going to, you can see this window where you can paste the sequences. Again here, be cautious that you have to put it only in the FASTA format. Here you have the protein and you also have the DNA and RNA. So which one you are going to put, you need to select that. So now we are going to do the protein sequences. So I'm going to paste the protein sequences. I'm going to paste the protein sequences in this window by taking the FASTA format. So I'm just doing that here. So I'm pasting 3 to 4 sequences here on this window. I'm pasting 4 sequences belonging to different species. I'm chosen 4 because it is easier to, it is later on for you to see the difference, why so many sequences are required. You may be having a question, why can't we just do with 2 sequences? You will see what is the output of this, then you will understand why you need to do more than 2 sequences. So I'm just clicking, you can paste your sequences in the FASTA format and you click on the submit button. Okay, so your job is currently running. So here I'm just going to put it, so you can see here, Madam showed us in the morning cluster alignment of sequences. So here, because 2 of them are shorter and 2 are longer, here there is no alignment which is possible. Here, wherever all the 4 sequences are having the amino acids, there you can see the alignment. Morning Madam has explained about this stars and also the colons, where there is a conserved sequence. You can see this set from here to here. This is entirely conserved in all the 4 species, whereas in this, the colon indicates that isoleucine and leucine, these are similar amino acids and so on. And wherever the 4, if your selection of these sequences is not having equal number of amino acids, the alignment will be done only to the set of sequences where there is alignment possible. So other sequences will not be aligned. In fact, not be seeing any stars or anything here, even though the sequences are similar, because the other nucleotides, other amino acids are not there. So this is the alignment output which you get. And most important output of this is the phylogenetic tree construction. The phylogenetic tree is the one which is going to indicate what is the relation between all these 4 sequences. So you can see that these 2 sequences which are sharing the same branch, this is the node point, this is the node point, all these are nodes wherever you are having the branches. So these 2 sequences are similar here, and these 2 sequences are of similar origin. When you get the nucleotide sequence, you can, when you get the data from the PDF, you can see what exactly I mean. So there are 2 types of trees which are possible. The guide tree, which is there, guide tree will give you the best relationship here, and this is the guide tree. You can see the difference between the phylogenetic tree which I just showed you and the guide tree, which is telling you based on the branch length. This is the branch length. This is based on the distance matrix method. So what is the number of amino acids which are common between the various sets, that is what is distance based matrix. So that is given by the guide tree, and this phylogenetic tree model is given by the neighbor joining method. This is again an algorithm which is going to calculate the without distance correlations. It is going to just take about the sequence similarity. So this is the clustral alignment of the sequences. You have to excuse me because I'm really rushing fast. I don't know whether many of you are following or not.
We have time till 1:45, Padma. So
Okay.
accordingly, you can just.
Okay. Is this quite clear, or any what I have told, is it clear to everyone?
We have another half an hour, so.
Yeah, I have other things to complete, so I want to go to that. Okay, so we'll just go back again.
Yes.
So now,
Giving us it is clear. Maybe you can.
yeah. So now this is just sharing my PPT here. So you can just see what I have shown you, what I have just explained. I'm showing on the PPT. Is the PPT clear? Visible? PPT is visible?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just quickly going through these slides to show you where you can find the various links here. The proteomics on this, then param, which is giving the physical and chemical parameters, pasting the sequence, then the protein secondary structure, pasting the sequence, and the alignment output, how it looks, and what is the outcome of this alignment of the sequences. Okay, so that is a little attempt for us to understand. I try to touch upon the sequence retrieval of the genomics, where we are here. So I have talked about primary structure, I have talked about secondary structure, and we have seen the clustral alignment of sequences. So now we have done many of these exercises. So here I would like to just give one short questionnaire for you into the chat box before I go on to the next. You can just do it when you are, if you are following also, you can just there is no need to stop just as I have given you in the, here also I'm just after the completion of these I am pasting this link here, and I hope you will be able to answer the questions which I have posted in this form. So I will continue further with the PPT.
You just wait for 5 minutes, Padma.
Okay.
Just to complete the questionnaire, and then you can proceed. Because only 4 questions are there, they must
Yes.
have completed.
Okay. Shall I proceed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit of yeah, Sumilia Mishra, your question, first blast, I just pasted from the Google site, from the NCBI site, the Puccinia graminis nucleotide sequence I selected, and I clicked it on the run blast. So then it has blasted that sequence with all the other nucleotide sequences which are there in the database. Then when we came to pairwise alignment, I have chosen the 2 sequences. Okay, that will answer your question. Phylogenetic tree, I will do it little later. So let me first finish what I need to do today. So here, this is a small introduction to the most important aspect of our bioinformatics. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Is the screen visible?
Yeah.
Okay, so BioPython, you must have all those who are having people with computer knowledge at home, they may be talking of Python, or even otherwise we keep hearing about this word Python. So this Python is nothing but a flexible language which can be applied to any field of science, not necessarily bioinformatics. We are only adapting this Python to the bioinformatics program. So here, I'm just going to show you one BioPython program which I have already made, because time doesn't permit me to install Python and make you do the work. So I'm just done something which will tell you what it is exactly about. So the main thing is you can download Python. It is a free program. You can download onto your systems by going into this site. And then if you want to analyze your biological data or the nucleotide sequences or anything what we have seen so far, that is retrieving the sequence, analyzing the sequence, clustral alignment, protein sequence, predicting the structure, whatever you have seen so far in all the earlier exercises, all that can be done under this one particular programming language. And this is the link for this biopython.org. That is a biopython website. You can download this biopython. It is also having the cookbook and the tutorial how you can go about using the biopython. So basically, because it is a computer language, it is involving writing the code. The coding is what is important in biopython, where it is, you need to understand what a code is, what a computer language is. It will take a long time for us to do that alone. So just let me quickly go through this. So the biopython is going to parse the bioinformatics. Parse means it is going to check, transfer the information which is there in the NCBI site or XPSI site. You don't need to individually visit those sites because it has the link to all these sites. You only need to give the sequence or the nucleotide accession number or in the proper format to the BioPython so that it is going to do the job for you. So you have different destinations, what we have just seen, the NCBI, BLAST, PubMed, Expacy, SwissProt, ProSite, name it, in bioinformatics, whatever sites are there, everything can be accessed, or that is in the terms of BioPython, we call that word as the parse. Parsing is, it is just collecting the information from the databases. So this can be used as an interface for Clustal program or Emboss program, which we have used, or standalone BLAST, which we have just done. So you can just code it in the BioPython. You have packages, you have softwares, you have codes which are given already written, which is there in the cookbook tutorial. You can use those codes and just do a practice of this. And in case you have to do it, it is in your own interest that you do the coding and get the sequences of interest. So here I'm going to just show you the BioPython, how it is going to be done. So in this example, I'm taking a simple example that we take a nucleotide sequence and we retrieve the sequence using BioPython, and then using that sequence, we will generate a complement sequence, as somebody has asked me in the previous thing, how we are taking double-stranded structure, and then how we are talking about the transcription and then the translation of the nucleotide sequence. Since it is a quick process, I just already made it and I'm sharing it with you on the screen to show you how it is done. So basically we are going to work on the Jupyter environment, where you have this notebook IPINB, that is Python notebook. This is called the Python notebook, where you can do all your work. So here this arrow indicates the running. If you click on this arrow, it will run the program or run the code which you have written. So initially we have to install several software. So for this, that is, it is going to install this BioPython, and it will do its background work. And then once this is done, okay, then you need to go into this install.
Sadhana, your browser is not visible, only PPT is visible.
Oh, sorry. I'll just share this.
Yes,
Now it's visible?
Yes.
Okay, sorry for that. So here, first thing we need to clone the sequence, run this code which is already written here. So it will going to take the BioPython dictionary, already we have done in some other system, and I'm just showing you the Lang program run here. And then we have to install this basic background software for this. And then once we do that process, then you can go into the other sequences which we are going to talk about. So here we have already saved the FASTA data of this Puccinia graminis, which we have been working in the morning, working since the beginning of this workshop. So this is already shown in the .fasta file .fasta format in the system. And when you, because here it is essential that you are very sure or very accurate in what you are giving. If you don't give the correct, including the dot, the colons, it is not going to recognize your sequence. Okay, so file.fasta, and this is the format which has been given to this sequence name which has been given, and the here we are talking of BioImport seq10. This BioImport seq10 is again a package which is there in the BioPython, and this is the code which is starting from for. These are all computer languages, so you need to understand. It will take some time. Just follow this with me for some time. And here you are talking of retrieving the sequence. When you put inverted commas for FASTA, it is called as a string. So my underscore sequence FASTA is the way, this is the format from where you have to tell the computer from where it has to get the sequence, and give the FASTA is the file name, and then you need to print what is the sequence you are looking for and what is the length of the sequence. So here you can, when you execute this particular thing, after writing the code, it will give you what is the length of this sequence. We have already seen this is the sequence record accession number of the sequence. This is the entire sequence length, and this is the number of nucleotides. So length is given here, the representative sequence is given here, and the sequence record is given here. Okay, then you are printing the sequence record, it's the same thing here. And then we want to do a complement of this. So when we want to do a complement again, you need to give it a command which sequence you want to do the complement. So it will give a complementary sequence to your strand of DNA. So you can see this is the sequence which we have taken for complementing. So A is giving it T, G is giving C, and so on, it goes on. Then if you want to make a reverse complement, that is a reverse strand, that means you will have to start reading the sequence from the back. Then you give this command, that is my underscore sequence dot reverse underscore complement. Everything in this is important, participants. If you miss any of these special characters, your program is not going to run. Okay, you need to put everything in the same order. Even a single space, if you give by mistake, it is not going to accept. Okay, refuses to do your work. So this is the sequence which you are getting as a reverse complement. And then we are also going to do, for the same sequence, we are going to do a transcription here. Transcription means converting the DNA sequence to the mRNA sequence. So you need to give it the sequence, coding underscore DNA, which sequence you are going to do the transcription. So you give the sequence here and give as coding underscore DNA, and you run this program. When you run this code, it will give you the sequence for this. And then the template DNA, you have to give the template DNA, it will give the sequence, that is the transcribed sequence. From here, you will get the messenger RNA sequence. This is the messenger RNA. Again, messenger underscore RNA. This is the function which is going to do for this particular input, coding underscore DNA and doing a transcription. Okay, so this is the transcribed mRNA sequence. Now, from this transcribed mRNA sequence, you want to get the amino acid sequence, so you need to do the translation. So for translation, again, you take the mRNA sequence, messenger underscore RNA, okay? So it will take the input from this previous thing, and again, you give a command to it saying that messenger underscore RNA dot translate with this bracket. Bracket indicates that it is going to take this sequence and do the translation. And then you will get this sequence of the amino acids which are there. So it has stopped here because there are some stop codons. So this is a simple example which I wanted to show you to tell us about how the BioPython works. I don't know how much I'm able to convey the message to all of you, but still, you can use BioPython. You should be able to write this code. It is very important. Putting these brackets, giving these underscores, giving the dots, double brackets, colons, semicolons, inverted commas. It is basically important on the special characters, right? So that is about the BioPython. Now, I would like to go on to the next aspect of our discussion. The last thing which I would like to do here is talking about the next generation sequencing. So next generation sequencing is an important branch of bioinformatics, without which nowadays you have a lot of data which is going to be is a running length of nucleotides. Now, what are we going to do with that data? How are we going to analyze the data is what is part of the NGS bioinformatics workflow. This is one example which I'm putting it on this screen, which is only a representative experiment which they reported from one article. So here we have, this is the flow chart here. So you understand now that there is a lot of adapters and ligase and linkers which are being added to the nucleotide sequences, and all of them need to be removed before the analysis is done. So you need to check the quality of the molecules. That is called by doing the FASTQ files, read filtering, multiplexing, trimming of adapters, and then we generate the FASTQ file. This FASTQ file is the file which is used for quality control, looking at the quality of the bases, quality of the sequences. So this is going through the analysis, NGS analysis, sequence alignment. That particular file is in this format, which is called as the BAM file or the SAM file. So BAM stands for binary representation of the SAM, and SAM is sequence alignment or map format. And there is another format which is called as the variant call format. These are all the extensions which we give to our nucleotide sequence. Unless they are in this format, the analysis cannot be carried out. So this is the work process process. So once these files are generated, BAM files, we need to select the BAM file or a SAM file and do alignment processing, that is doing for the removing the sequences, primer sequences. We should know what are the linker sequences and whether linker sequences are also amplified and how to remove the linker sequences. That is done by the processing. And then when we want to look for the SNPs, that is single nucleotide polymorphisms, you need to go for the variant calling file, that is the VCF file. And then this is all done by the various programs which are available on the net: annotation, filtering, validation, and report. So in annotation, it will be useful for doing differential gene expression, or you can do splicing, evolutionary conservation, and you also have quality filters which are going to do some variation studies, functional filters, and all whatever analysis we want to do on that, we can do. So here I would give example of one particular analysis which I want to show here. So here I'll just go into this. Give me 2 minutes. Maybe I will just show you this new share. I want to just show you the program which we can use for NGS analysis. Just it is just an attempt by me. So just I will like to explain what we have to see here. You can go to usegalaxy.org. This is the site where you can have, this is the Galaxy site. Usegalaxy.org is the site where you will be able to analyze your sequences. And this is the site which is there. I have already downloaded some programs here. I have already processed it for you just to show you. So I'll just explain briefly this windows which are here. Here you have the search tools. In the search tools, you have the FASTA, FASTQ, SAM, BAM, which I explained. Then the VAED files, these are also the file formats, the variant call format, VCF, BCF files. And here you can get the annotation, mapping. Okay, you have to choose these programs to do your work. And then you also have the chip sequencing, what madam was telling us, RNA-seq analysis. So here, these are all the functions which you can do. So in this, you need to actually register yourself. It is free registration. You can log in and you can do the analyzed data. So I'm just giving you one example here. Go to shared, this is the shared data which is there. I have already logged in. Then we go to the visualizations on this. Click on visualizations. Then you will have some already data which is available. Here, go to the just a minute. You have RNA-seq data which is already given in this. So here, this will be giving you how to go about doing the RNA-seq analysis. If you already have the data, how it has to be analyzed and what are the outputs of that. So here again, I will just show you what exactly we mean here. So here I'm already analyzed some data just to show you what exactly we are doing. So FastQC, as I told you, is a quality control for looking for the quality of your bases, which you have to do the sequence, do the analysis, whether the data is really there. So here you have 3 icons. You can view the data here. When you click on view data, this is what you are going to visualize. This is raw data. And when you go to the web page on this, this is the same data web page. It is, are you able to see the screen? Is everyone able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Padma.
Yeah, so this FastQC report is the quality report for our sequences which are there in the, after the sequencing has been done by using the sequencers. So it will analyze our sequence based on all these parameters, and it is going to give us the output. So here you can see per base sequence quality. Per base sequence quality is, it is showing you what is the percentage of the or variation, or how good that nucleotide per base, because it is saying per base. For every base, we have the record. I'm not able to enhance this. Are you able to see this? Are you able to see this?
Yes,
Hello?
Padma ma'am. Yes, Padma ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
so
able to.
Quality scores across
yeah,
all.
quality score. So by Sanger Illumina sequencing, it is going to give us what is the quality of the sequence which is there for per base. So here, all these areas, if it is extending here, this may be towards the end of the sequence where there is some noise which is there in the sequences. So I'll again go back to this window. So like that, we have GC per sequence, GC content. What is the GC content of this particular sequence? Any sequence which we want to see. This is a sequence GC distribution. It is around 55 to 59% here, which is the most accepted sequence length which we can GC content for the sequence, indicating that the GC content of these sequences also is stable. Like that, we can do the adapter content. As we have seen in the video, adapters are being added for NGS analysis. It is essential that we remove the adapters. So the adapter content is also has to be done by looking at the sequences of the adapters and find out whether the adapters are present in our data analysis. If adapter sequence also is there in the nucleotide sequence, we need to indicate that adapters are there. But if you see this, in this there is no sequences, so indicating that there is no adapter sequence along with our sequence, because it is very important that adapters are also not used for the analysis, because they are only added to analyze the sequence. So I'm going back to this main window, and here just one sequence analysis I have done by using RNA-seq analysis. The program which we are using, I'll show you here. We have, if you, the software which we are using is called as the TopHat. This is the name of the program. So TopHat is the program. It will tell us about the gap, the read mapper for RNA sequence data. So when you have RNA sequence data, the data will be there in the set. So here in the shared data, you will get some already some data libraries. If you go, this is for our practice only. These are not the sequences. You have demonstration data sets. Demonstration data sets, you have RNA sequence data and the chip sequencing data. If you click on RNA sequencing data, you will get 4 or 5 files here. This is the test file, and this is a control file, and this is for the gene annotations where we have a reference genome. So you need to select all of them, and you can say to export to the history. History is what we see in the Galaxy page, and export as data sets. It will export the sequences into the database. If we have any sequences which we have collected, we can put them into this, and then we can we can go into the Galaxy site. Okay, so when we'll go back into the Galaxy site. So you can see that they are all loading here. These are all, they will be loading in this particular sequence here. So already such sequences I have done, and I have analyzed them by the TopHat is the program for RNA-seq analysis. There is a lot of workflow in this, but just I'm showing you the what are all the connections you can do. You can look in your sequence for splice, what TopHat does. This program will look for splice junctions in your sequence. It will look for deletions in your sequence. It will look for the insertions in the sequence. Once you run these programs, it is going to do this analysis for you if you choose TopHat. So when I'll just show you one example here, one output I'm going to show, TopHat for the splice junctions. So you go to the view data. Are you able to see my screen? Is my screen visible?
Yes, Padma ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So this is how the output is going to be seen. So this is the junctions, and these are the splice junctions, which are, we have seen the splice junctions. Where are all the splice junctions which the top hat is identifying in our sequence, and what is the score, and whether they are in the plus strand or the minus strand. And this is how this data analysis is going to be done. So you have the different inputs which are here. So you need to really sit and analyze this data to look at the sequence if you know the sequence length, and you can also use these sequences. Different links are there. You can use a HiSat for alignment program, cufflinks, which will tell us about the SNPs and other data from the RNA-seq data. So this is how the NGS data needs to be analyzed by using them into appropriate programs. Galaxy is only one of the places where you can do the analysis. So there may be, you can just, if you have the programs installed in the computer, you need to give the code and command and also do the sequence analysis. This Galaxy is a comparatively easier place to work with. So that is, and also where we can get the data sets. If you go back to the NCBI site.
Padma, I think we are running short of time.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm just showing the last one. So here we are going into the all databases, and here you have the geo data sets. If you click on the geo data sets and you want to look for some prostate cancer, and you ask it to search, you will get all the results here. Okay, so it will have data with relation to where you see, you can see that circular RNA data is given here. For some, there may be different data which is given here. If you click on that, some 12 sample data is here. So like this is the profile which you will get. You can also work from these databases, take these sequences, and if you are interested in just studying or analyzing or learning, you can also take these sequences and put it into the Galaxy site, and you can do this analysis what I just showed. There are many links which you can use to save the data. So that is what I wanted to tell. So that is my last slide. So this is an overview of RNA sequence analysis. How the RNA-seq data analysis is done. We have seen the sequencing read, align the reads to genome, assemble the transcripts. We have the reference genome. If it is human, we take human genome. Mouse, we take mouse genome, which are all in the database. And then we compare it with our sequence and see for the differential gene expression. So here I shown you how a top hat works. It is a software package, and it is also mapping the non-junction read using another program that is called as the bowtie. So these are all some terms which you all should be familiar with when we talk about the NGS analysis. Thank you. I thank Professor Y. Ashok, Principal BVC, Management BVC, and Dr. A. Sai Padma, Head Department of Biochemistry, for giving me this opportunity.
So we are going to conclude the session because there is one more webinar in the college. We need to state the Zoom session. That is only the hurry for us. And I thank Dr. S. Padma for an excellent delivery of her presentation today. She's been teaching this subject from past 15 years or more. And then she has attended some workshops also. So my intention behind arranging this workshop also to make use of their expertise and then give the information to the others who are not so good in the bioinformatics, and she could meet my expectations. And I thank you very much, S. Padma.
Thank you, Sai Padma, for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah, it's all our opportunity to listen to your lecture and then getting to know new concepts. Because she didn't want to leave the new concepts when we were having the discussion. I'm very happy for that. And I extend my thanks to all the patient listeners here. 170 are still there at 2 o'clock also. And I hope that the same kind of inquisitiveness and interest will be there for the next 2 days, I can promise you, by having first day experience, the next 2 days also will be an excellent sessions for you. So I welcome you for the tomorrow's webinar session, and tomorrow sharply we are starting at 9:50 to 10. So once again, thank you very much, and thanks for the speaker of today, Dr. Spadna, once again.
Thank you.
We
Thank
are
you, Sai
ending the
Padma.
meeting. We are ending the meeting.
Okay.
Have a good day, all of you.
Thank you.